Hi everyone. This is a great covers weekend, and it is the weekend of Brothers in Arms. I have listened way back when to Dire Straits' original. Yesterday I listened to Metallica's cover, which, if you've seen that video, you know that I really took a great liking to it almost immediately. Now today I'm listening to Joan Baez, and this is a name that has come up several times on this channel, actually, in connection to some other artists and pieces of music. So I'm not completely unfamiliar with her name, although Vlad told me that if I were to sit down, if he were to sit down and I were to read about all that she has contributed in her legacy in rock music, we'd be here for a very long time. So what he's done is just given me a couple little sentences to read, and then I will listen to her cover of Brothers in Arms. Joan Chandos Baez is an American singer, songwriter, musician, and activist. Her contemporary folk music often includes songs of protest and social justice. Baez has performed publicly for over 60 years, releasing more than 30 albums. Baez was presented with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the 2007 Grammys and a Spirit of Americana Free Speech Award at the 2008 Americana Music Honors and Awards. In 2023, Rolling Stone ranked Baez at number 189 on its list of the 200 greatest singers of all time. Well, I guess I'll go research her some more on my own time so that we don't sit here forever. But let's see what she's done with Brothers in Arms.
Covered mountains are a home now for me, but my home is the lowlands, and it always will be. Someday you'll return to valleys and your farms, and no longer burn to be brothers in arms. Fields of destruction, baptisms of fire, I have witnessed your suffering as the battle raged hard, and though it hurt me so bad, in the fear and alarm, you did not desert me, my brothers in arms.
She has the kind of voice that gives me chills. It's incredible. The color and the shading that she brings out and the way she carries a line. And there's a richness to it. It's not just, well, you know, I've never said this here on this channel, but maybe now is a good time for me to say it. Especially since many of you have many times urged me to explore more female rock singers, and I'm gradually moving that direction, but obviously not in any great rush. I'm very particular about what kind of female voice I want to hear. If you think I'm particular about male voices, wait till you see how particular I am about female voices. It's hard to find a female voice that is not distracting to the music. Some of them are too heavy. Some of them are too light. Some of them don't have enough color. Some of them, I can find fault with dozens of female voices. It's rare for me to find a female voice that I just say, oh, she's incredible. And there are a few. But I guess I've just found another one because Joan Baez, this voice here, it's incredible. And it's beautiful. It's rich. It's colorful. But it doesn't feel closed or dark in its richness. There's the kind of a feeling of abundance in her voice. Maybe I would describe it that way. Anyway.
But we have just one word. Why live in different worlds?
She takes it on.
And the moon's riding high. Let me bid you farewell.
Okay, I have to stop it here because I've just recently listened to the Metallica version and I was commenting about how when he got to this verse, Hetfield just let his voice go fully to the, well, I don't know if it's fully to the max, but in the context of the piece, it sounded like, okay, this is the utter tragedy, and it's more of the, shall I say, rock scream. Now, when Joan takes this verse, she's handling it a lot differently, isn't she? And yet it's not handled like we hear in the Dire Straits version either. This one is kind of bringing us back around and drawing us in closer, more intimately, and getting close to our face and saying, now the sun's gone to hell. And
now the sun's gone to hell, and the moon's riding high.
And now she has us.
Bid you farewell.
It's as if she's holding us on our shoulders, and to our face she's saying, let me bid you farewell. I am not coming back.
Now the sun's gone to hell, and the moon's riding high. Let me bid you farewell. Every man has to die, and it's written in the stars above, and every line in your part. We're fools to make
Okay, before I comment any more on Joan Baez specifically, this thought has just come to me as I'm listening to this last verse, and because this has all been happening sequentially. First, the Dire Straits version, now, then yesterday, the Metallica version, and now Joan Baez version. And this last verse, because it caught my ears with the Dire Straits Metallica version yesterday, I want to give it a little bit of extra attention and discuss just a little bit the differences between each of the three artists and their rendition of this piece, because I think it's a great example of what can be done with music and what is happening in each of these different performances. If I were to describe what I think is happening in Dire Straits verse 3, Brothers in Arms. Now the sun's gone to hell, and it's time to say farewell. I would say that I think that it is portraying a soldier's last thoughts and his sudden realization as he's dying on the battlefield. He suddenly realizes and recognizes the folly of it all. But it's too late for him. If I were to put a time and place context to the Metallica version, I would say that it is the soldier's realization in the middle of the battle. So he's realizing it a bit earlier, before he's left alone dying on the battlefield. Now, he's realizing it perhaps even before he's injured, but as he's going into the heat of the battle and everything is blazing around him and it's intense, and he recognizes that he suddenly realizes as he's in the middle of this act of fighting, not only for his life, for the life of his comrades, at the same time realizing, I'm shooting people, I'm killing people. He suddenly realizes the folly of it all. Now, listening to Joan Baez, if I were to put time and place and context to verse 3 of her rendition, I would have to back it up even further. It's either before they go out on the battlefield, perhaps when they're first informed that it's time for them to prepare to go fight, or perhaps even earlier, perhaps leaving home and saying farewells there and realizing that I may very well not come back, and this entire thing is such a folly, and it shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be like this. Isn't it amazing how simply a different handling of the music places the context within the music at different times and places? At least to me, it does. I feel it very strongly, and I noticed it in each of the previous ones, but now with Joan Baez, yet again, each of these is clearly a very fine artist. They each have their own voice, their own way of handling, their own artistic interpretation and style. It's one thing to have a style, even an interpretation. It's another thing to be able to convincingly, compellingly convey something as far-fetched and in a way, not part of the story. And yet it is so much a part of the story. It has a big impact on how we perceive the piece and how we interpret the piece, although the final message is always the same. And it's just having to do with how each artist handles their voice and conveys their message through the music, which in this case wasn't even music of their own creating for the last two. It's a cover, right? And it's a fabulous example of how a cover is not just a cover. At least it doesn't have to be. A cover, as I said with Metallica, can stand on its own two legs. It can be its own identity. It can own the music and the message in its very own way, independent from whatever came before. And this is one of the things that, as a classical musician, I'm very sensitive towards and I'm very attuned to, because of our customs in the classical world of playing the same piece over and over and over, different contexts, different artists, different groups. And we're not just listening to the piece, we're listening to the handling of the piece and the way it's interpreted. That's what we call it. We talk about the interpretation of the piece. And so here we have 3 different interpretations of one piece of music, each very beautiful, very powerful, and each one of them grabs me in a different way. I don't know if I could pick a favorite right now. I'm not going to try. But this was a lot of fun. Thanks again to my community of patrons who have voted this one to the top and brought me to this moment of listening and experiencing. I enjoyed it a lot, and I'll see you all soon.